Morning, everybody, and thank you for showing up. I wanted to call it something I've been thinking about, but I already used that a couple of times. So, but this is something I've been thinking about. It started with this book, and it's about death and dying in different countries and how it is in the United States. But with the situation, I feel like I needed to have a caveat in the beginning. I have seen some people that have dealt with death really well lately. And so this is not a reflection on people that have been able to grieve their loved ones and stuff. So I wanted to make that caveat. I also wanted to say my mom died during COVID. And so this is a little bit more maybe about me because she disappeared and the next thing we knew that she had died. So this is a disconnect, was a disconnect very much for me during this time. So don't be offended. It just say, oh, it's just about Jancy, like normal. Okay. Okay. This is about traveling. The book was about traveling the world to find a good death, and it was by Caitlin Doherty. And from here to eternity. I did know how sanitized and commercialized the business of death has become in the United States. There's so many ways, other ways to treat the deceased. My goodness, you guys have to settle down and get into the flow. There are ways that family members can still have personal involvement in those they cherish. So let's dig into some different ways that other societies have dealt with death. Some of these rituals are currently outlawed and have been outlawed for a long time, but some of them are still possibly coming back and are being done a little bit today. It's just interesting to look at things that how we're done in other places. So we start with the Native American Wendat tribe. Now this is never mind. Okay, the Native American Wendat tribe. They would put the body on the wooden scaffolds and wrap it in beaver pellets. And this is the sort of thing you see in the Westerns, I think. The old Westerns, you'd see this, and this is what they were representing. The bodies would decompose naturally, and the beaver pelts would be replaced by the family when needed. Once every 10 or so years, the tribe would dig a communal pit, and after the bones that were totally clean. And that was done by the women. So I would point out they were a bit misogynistic, but maybe their death rituals was better. So we'll just concentrate on their death rituals. Okay, the bones would be placed in this communal pit and buried. Of course, the European missionaries saw this. They found the practice appalling and soon stomped it out of existence. Next, we are going to visit the practices in a place called Tanah Toraja. Toraja? Oh well, it's in Indonesia, and we'll just forget about how I've killed that name. It is so foreign that it has become a destination for people who are interested in death rituals. I didn't know that that was a thing, but I guess there's groups. I guess if you're looking for a tour to look at death rituals, they must be out there somewhere. The corpse is kept at home for the minimum of 3 months and up to several years before the funeral is performed. This time period seems to involve saving up enough money you have to afford a buffalo, which obviously is very pricey in Indonesia. During this period, the family mummifies the body, but treats the mummy as if they were just sleeping. The food is brought to the family member. Other family members come and visit for casual conversations that are held. The mummy's clothes are changed. It's almost like, yeah, she's just sleeping or he's just sleeping. Then the formal funeral is a huge community event. Families bring animals to be sacrificed. Meticulous records are kept of these gifts because when your time comes, an animal will be expected. If you brought one, you better bring a chicken to the next one. Okay, so there is almost a party atmosphere as the body is placed in a mini house and carted to the square on the shoulders of 35 pallbearers, which tells you how heavy this mini house has got to be. Words are spoken by the priest, and then at the end, the buffalo is sacrificed. Once the buffalo dies, the person is believed to be dead, is finally believed to be dead. But up to that point, they're seen to be sleeping. The next step is to take the mummified bodies and place it into what they call a grave house. These graves are opened up periodically for family visits. The area is cleaned, the corpse is dusted off, checked for damage. Then new outfits can be fitted onto their loved one. And after the work is done, there comes the picnics with the family. And they've shown pictures of the family photos with their loved ones in attendance. Very strange, but definitely a hands-on, family-involved death. As strange as the rituals seem to Americans, these Indonesians seem to have blurred the separation between life and death. The living are provided with a continued connection with their loved ones. The fear and horror of death doesn't seem to exist as much in this culture. It's just another part of life. The person's still with you, even though they've moved on. Another unusual practice is the Farsi ritual. The Farsis are ancestors of the Iranians and are practicing Zoroastrians. Because of their belief system that teaches all elements are sacred, burial and cremation, therefore, are unclean. You can't contaminate the earth or air that goes up if you have you don't want to contaminate it by burying a person, and you don't want to cremate somebody by sending up unclean air. And so this is one of their core beliefs, and that's why they have this particular funeral ritual. Their solution was to build towers of silence. The majority of these towers are located in Mumbai, India. These towers consist of 3 concentric circles. The first is reserved for men, the second for women, the third for children. The very center of the tower is where the bones fall to decompose and nourish the earth. But before they are ever placed in the tower, in the Tower of Silence, the body is cleansed with cow urine and then washed by the families. Prayers, rituals, ceremonial fires, vigils are held throughout the night. Only after the body is laid to rest then after all of this ritual, the body is laid to rest in the tower. And that's when the vultures come to do their job. As a side note, the vulture population dropped 99% in the 90s in the Indian area. The Indian government allowed the use of an ibuprofen-like drug to be administered to sick cows. The pain was successfully alleviated, but once the cow grew old and dropped dead, the vultures came in and did their vulture thing. The drug, which was still in the dead animal, caused kidney failures in the vultures. It is plainly not true that vultures have iron cast stomachs and can eat anything. Put that out. I don't know where this information is ever going to get you, but it could be something interesting to share at a party. Anyway, this definitely put a crimp into the Farsi system of burial, but they're still working it out. The United States has a lot of vultures, but I don't think we have communities that would relish having a Tower of Silence in their town. There are no Tower of Silences in the US. Plus, our government would never allow such a thing. It's only burial or cremation for us. Our next step, our stop is Ghana. It's in Western Africa. I had to look that up, guys. Sometimes my African geography is a little sketchy. Anyway, there they have a 50-year-old tradition of fantasy coffins. And I'm not talking about walnut, silk lined with brass embellishments versus the plain pine box. I'm talking about airplane versus trunk design. These fantasy coffins are a way to celebrate the dead. You can choose whatever design represents you and your loved ones. You can just say, I'm going to go with this. Your mom can roar into eternity in the racer coffin. A replica of the prize bull for your loving father, the farmer, or your favorite pet. Online pictures show that fish are a popular choice. I'm not sure why fish are so popular, but anyway. fish is one of the big ones in demand. These coffins are carried by dancing, colorful, clad pallbearers. Once again, there's more of a party celebration than the sad, tearful gathering we have in the United States, and that we're used to. Then I better stop. Brian, you got extra stuff to fill in after I'm early and finished? Once again, I'm talking too fast. So anyway, yay. The final stop is Japan, where many families practice, oh boy, here we go. Tatsuugi. Does anybody know Japanese? Anyway, close enough. I'm going to apologize by our minions of Japanese speakers out there. Sorry. Cremation is a standard in Japan because of the Shinto and Buddhist beliefs that the spirit is released during this time. So it is free to go on to the next phase of existence. The unusual part of katsuugi or uji is that it starts with this specialized unmatched chopsticks that are used to remove small bones from the ashes. So they cremate the body and the ashes are put in a container, and then the chopsticks, which are mismatched intentionally, are used to separate. Now I'm back. Oh, okay. The chopsticks are mismatched to represent the separation of the world of the living and the dead. Only close family members are invited to participate in this ritual. They go through the ashes and certain bones are picked out. They pick them out with these chopsticks. I've seen this on TV once in an anime or something, and they were sitting around picking these bones out with these chopsticks. And it seems to be that if you find certain bones, they could represent luck, wisdom, or healing. So they're digging through these ashes. This careful ceremonial transfer is seen to be a final act of service from the loved ones to their deceased, and so something that they can do for them. In the United States, they sift out the bones in the ashes, and they are no longer there. But in Japan, because this ceremony, it's very important to leave the bones in and let the relatives go through this. It helps the family process the reality of death. So I ask, what do our funerals look like to people around the world who view death in such a different light? Our loved ones can be, but not always, but in my mom's instance, they were quickly carted away by strangers. If somebody doesn't die at home, the family members are often informed of a death in the family by hospital staff. The body is, once again, it's quickly taken away and often filled with chemicals as a funeral home readies the body for burial or cremation. I will point out that it is not mandated that people be embalmed anymore. It is only mandated if you have like an open viewing of somebody. So it's something to check with and check out if that is something you're against. It is not necessary and it is not legally binding to have somebody embalmed. The business side can get involved with the need to purchase the burial plot or a vault, plus the coffin and headstones or fancy container to hold the ashes after some stranger cremates the body. Then, I've seen this happen way too much. We listen to somebody talk about our loved one who barely knew them. I've seen, it's kind of like, did you even know this person? And unfortunately, they did not. Then with sadness and mourning, they drive to the plot and watch as cemetery employees place the coffin in the ground and fill the hole. Of course, I'm pointing out the worst case scenario, but it happens far too often in our country. And how does this help with the grieving process or help a family find closure? NPR reported in 2017 that the U.S. funeral industry has been found to be very confusing at a time of grief and financial stress. A lot of decisions are being made at a really bad time. Of course, not all funeral homes are bad and many do a great job. We did have a good encounter here with the funeral home that we worked with. So I wanted to put that, they're not all like quick thing. There are very many caring people out there. The rules are starting to loosen as people see problems with this kind of handoff and sanitization business. But thankfully, things have been slowly changing in the US and people are fighting against the business of death. Green burials are becoming more available. These burials avoid the toxic embalming, the concrete vaults, and the use of the they use the biodegradable material instead of the non-biodegradable. Unfortunately, they're still pretty costly and it prohibits the general public from using them. So until the price can come down, the average Joe is not going to be able to afford some of these green burials. And there are other things that are going on. There are people that are fighting to legalize open air pyres. Pyres, I think that's the right. One of the major obstacles with this process is trying to reduce the pollutants that go into the air. But change takes time and the word is getting out. My takeaway from all of this is that it does not matter how you deal with loss, but that you are given the time and the space in which to deal with the death. And unfortunately, I think sometimes our society doesn't allow us to do that. You can celebrate because it's a new beginning, or you can grieve because you view it as the end. But the sanitation and commercialization of death in the US makes me wonder if that's really what people need and want. And I really do think that people do need and want to have that time and to reduce that quickness that we are so disconnected with. And I wanted to leave you with a quote. It's attributed incorrectly to William Gladstone. And so we don't know who wrote it. And but anyway, they said it sounded like William Gladstone, so it might be, but probably not. It says, "Show me the manner in which a nation cares for its dead, and I will measure with mathematical exactness the tender mercies of its people, their respect for the law of the land, and their loyalty to high ideals." But maybe what are our high ideals? I don't know. And that's all I have. Did I go too fast? So, anyway, I'll put this book out. If anybody wants to grab it and read it, I will just put it out here because I'm finished with it.